To catch you up to speed on what we've been doing on the channel, we've had our friend of the channel, Terry, over to help take apart the rear end on the old Ford 8.8 that we had, and he did a full rebuild on the limited slip differential, putting new clutch packs in and getting everything ready to throw it back in and put this now freshly rebuilt rear end in our Factory 5 Type 65 Shelby Daytona Coupe. We need bearings and brackets before we can put it in the car for the first time.
So I installed the new bushings under the differential housing. I had to use the old axle bushing because we replaced them anyway. And as you can tell, it's the perfect size. And just tap them in. And we're good to go. As we get closer, the geometry of these two bolts should line up. Watch your finger.
We used a couple blocks of wood to kind of brace the rear end right in that one spot until we actually finish getting all the bolts in. So then we can actually go ahead and take it off of those wooden blocks and lower it off of the jack. That way it'll be sitting on the bottom of its suspension travel and we can finish out putting the rest of the rear end together. There we go. Got a rear end. But the only thing we're missing is the backing plate to mount the rear calipers, because this originally was a drum setup. So I got to figure out what we're going to do. There might be something where we got to mount on this to make it work. So once we do that, we can put the axles in and put the rear brakes on. I got the full disc brake set up, and then we'll get working on the rest of the chassis. Okay, so here, same thing as we do in the front. This is the race position, this is street, and even in the street position the car sits very, very low, so we're going to put the shocks on the bottom setting there. So I got a half-inch by half-inch wide, 4-inch long bolt, but it was a little too thick to fit, and I didn't want to really gouge this up because it's all powder coated, so I literally just hit this with just a little bit of sandpaper, and it wouldn't go in before. Like, would get stuck there. And now it goes all the way through, just about. So a little bit of sandpaper goes a long way. As you saw in a separate video, I assembled this separately. So we got our spacer that's included in the kit. Put this guy through. And we're going to hit it with the spacer on the other side. So once that's there, put that spacer on. It's like just enough to get it through. Boom, and that's on there. And we'll tighten it down. Now, the only other thing you got to look at down here, see this? It's not the same height. We got to actually use a jack the rear axle of the car up just enough to get some clearance to put that in. So we'll do that next. So the instructions called for the bolt through the bracket. Then you got your 1-inch here. Then it said to use a single shim and then bolt this directly flush. But I just didn't like it directly flush. I put a spacer in here and then the nut on that side. Same thing on this side. So at the bottom, it's tight. It's tough to show. But I have my spacer here, and then instead of having this flush to the end of it, which is kind of what it looks like in the illustration, I put another spacer in there to give this a little bit of, you know, movement there. And then we'll just tighten them down up there, and then that part of the rear end is on. This nice billet piece here we got from Fort's Parts Connection. They have all different sizes for your application, but this perfectly fits over that to allow you to mount a disc brake caliper on the rear axle. So we'll go ahead and put them on now. So we got that on. We're just using our original hardware that we had for this because they're still in pretty good shape. So I couldn't find any like specific torque specs on what to torque these down to. So I just kind of went off of what I do for other bolts of similar size, which for this is about 35 foot-pounds. So we'll torque these down to 35 foot-pounds. And if it snaps off, then you'll know that I was wrong. But I'm pretty sure 35 foot-pounds will work for this. I'm also putting the bolts in this way and not this way because they don't stick out as far and I just don't want it to rub. On good. If you're looking for a great way to support our channel, check out lowboostfilms.com. Not only does this support the channel, but you'll look great while you do it as well. We have a great selection of different types of apparel and merchandise that you guys can buy. I also have a selection of car parts and tools that we've reviewed on the channel that we know work well for sale on there as well at a good price, so make sure you check it out. This axle, I'm actually reusing. It was in good shape, but it was in the other rear end that we had, and I think it sticks out a little bit too far for my liking. It sticks out further than the other one, so we might have to get a matching one for this side. I took the 8mm bolt out. We got to get this guy out in order to get the C-clips in for the axle. So, yeah, we already did it before. Shouldn't be too hard, but a magnet. O'Reilly. Take that, pull that right out. That was a magnet on there. This should pop out. Leave that down there. This should give me enough room here to push the axle in a little bit more to put the C-clip in. Let's see. There. So I should be able to get, that's right there, I should be able to get the C-clip in. Then I can pop it back out and do the other side and then put that pin back in to keep everything in. So there's our C-clip there. C-clip goes back in like that. You really need two hands to do this. There. Now the clip's in. We got to put the other axle in and do the other side the same way. This axle is new. And the passenger side axle, I think, is supposed to be shorter than the driver's side. The driver's side axle is always going to be a little longer. Let's see. There. So, push it in. Okay, so with that in, let me try to get this so you can see it. I can slide the C-clip back on. I may have to tap it into here. So, with the clip, there it is like that. Now it's out. So I pushed it out. So with it out like that, we should be able to just slide the pin back in there. So let's go ahead and put the pin back in. Right. It slid in a little too far, but that's okay. I can get my finger underneath it from behind. And that's an 8mm that goes back. Now our axles are installed. Should be able to put wheels on it. Let me know in the comments if you think that looks correct. I feel like it might not. Maybe I have to flip the axles around and put the other one on the other side. And that one looks okay. Or I have to actually get a different length axle for the driver's side.
You drop it.
I'm not going to drop it.
Jenny?
Mom, you're on camera. All right, let's put this on. Just test fitting everything. Now it can't come off. Okay, so I didn't put the caliper, I didn't put the pads in on this side. I just wanted to kind of mock everything up. We will continue to do that in the next episode, put the wheels on it and get started on everything else. But I just gotta say, You know, and I do a lot of different stuff on this channel, and I don't get the time that I would like to work on this car more. But I'll tell you right now that I have brakes and the rear end in this thing, and we got the front end basically together, I'm really starting to get motivated at it, because I mean, it's starting to come together. We almost have a roller. Hopefully in the next couple months, you know, things will open up for us a little bit more, so I can get here more often to work on this car, because I really want to get working on this thing. Not just for you guys, but for me, because I want to drive it. This is like a dream car for me, and it's a dream build too. Building this thing is part of the dream, and I think I can't stress that enough. Building the car is just as much of a dream as owning it. So we'll just leave it at that. If you guys can't wait until next week's video to see more of this car or some of the other stuff that we have on the channel, make sure you guys check out these videos that I already have ready to go.